Hello, everyone, and welcome back to stuff about life and fitness and health and other things. And so this is on Check the Data. This is thegatewaypundit.com. Check the Data. Nobel Prize winning scientist says strict lockdowns for COVID-19 were an overreaction. Awesome. This is brand new today. Professor Michael Levitt, who won the 2013 Nobel Prize in chemistry, so he may know what he's talking about. And well, he won it. Okay, that's funny. He says lockdowns ordered by state governors were a complete overreaction to COVID-19 and may actually backfire. And I was making this point almost 2 months ago, and people lit me up because I went and looked at what other pandemics, what did we do with other viruses, and what Sweden did makes perfect sense. What Taiwan did, Japan did. But what China didn't. They were trying to cover it up, and then everybody else reacted that way. And don't want to go down that rabbit hole of all that. But now you've heard the term herd immunity, which means that many people are exposed to a virus and build antibodies and then enjoy immunity. That's how society continues to function despite endless viruses popping up from time to time. Levitt, who teaches structural biology at the Stanford School of Medicine, again, may know what he's talking about, has been analyzing the COVID-19 outbreak with a statistical perspective since January, according to unheard.com. Says that despite all the predictions, the data show that the COVID-19 never actually grew exponentially, which means the draconian lockdown measures were most likely unnecessary. In other words, part of it, I think what a lot of it is we didn't know necessarily that a lot of people were asymptomatic. And so this thing was spreading and we didn't, but it was popping up, but that was a very small percentage of people actually got the disease, got the virus. His observation is a simple one, that in outbreak after outbreak of the disease, a similar mathematical pattern is observable regardless of government interventions. After around 2-week exponential growth of cases and subsequent deaths, some kind of break kicks in and growth starts slowing down. The curve becomes exponential. In other words, the curve starts to turn on its own accord. This may seem a technical distinction, but implications are profound. The unmitigated scenario is modeled by, among others, Imperial College. And I saw an article, this guy, that goes back for years. This guy has made, I forget his name, prediction after prediction after prediction that has been absolute junk. I don't know why anyone listens to him. And my understanding is that there is a governmental official who's investigating Imperial College because of the crap that they've done, which tilted governments across the world into drastic action, relied on a presumption of continued exponential growth, which I don't know if a virus has ever done that. Even something like the plague, which killed a lot of people, but that was like over, 50 years? I mean, it wasn't like, all in a week. Across the world, which with a consistent R number of significantly above 1 and a consistent death rate, which quickly the majority of the population would be infected and a huge number of deaths would be recorded. But Professor Levitt's point is that hasn't actually happened anywhere, even in countries that have been lax in their responses. And again, this is Sweden wasn't the only one to have what I think was a measured response, right? We had some data. They isolated people that were sick. They isolated people that were under, had medical issues, whatever they were, extenuating circumstance, whether it was age or had respiratory issues and things like that. And they've been building herd immunity very quickly. Like many others, Levitt told Unheard that developing herd immunity would have been a far better strategy to fight COVID-19. I think the policy of herd immunity is the right policy, and I think Britain was on exactly the right track before they went. They were fed wrong numbers, and they made a huge mistake. And then the United States was on the same path until they freaked out. I see the standout numbers as winners as Germany and Sweden. I thought Germany isolated too, but they didn't do anything like what Italy did. In Italy, it was in northern Italy, a lot of industry, poor air quality, and a lot of older people, higher than the average, and people with medical issues. They didn't practice too much lockdown, and they got enough people sick to get some herd immunity. I see the standout losers is countries like Austria, Australia, and Israel that had very strict lockdown but didn't have many cases. They have damaged their economies, caused in the States, we've damaged our economy, caused massive social damage, damaged the educational year of the children. Yeah, we did that in the States here too. There's no doubt in my mind that when we come back to all this, the damage done by lockdown will exceed any saving of lives by a huge factor. Again, this was my point. Now, I'm not a doctor. I have some medical knowledge and some medical training, but mathematical background is what I do have. And when I started looking at some of the stuff, it didn't make any sense. It's just like the data felt wrong. The algorithms felt wrong. I didn't know for certain, but it sure felt that way. Anyone with any sense told it 6 weeks ago. Obviously I can't read the comments, but so, again, data, information and data about this virus has been all over the board. I get it. And sometimes you're not sure what to believe, what not to believe. But this is becoming the norm over and over and over again. This is the kind of stuff we're coming across where you got to look, people keep yelling about a vaccine. The coronavirus has been around for decades. There's been human versions of it for decades. We've been looking, they've been fairly minor. This was created in the lab. This was created by research started by Fauci in the States, and then he was sent money over to China through nefarious means. It was an ad, what do they call it? Ad something. Basically, they were ad function. There was ad function experimentation going on that created this thing, and then it got loose. We've never created a vaccine for a coronavirus of any strain that's been FDA approved for humans. Now, we've got them for canines. We've got them, I think they even have feline ones. They've got them from others, but they have other species, but they've not got one for humans. I don't believe we're going to suddenly have one after decades of research, we're just going to snap our fingers and suddenly have one. I don't think so. But the herd immunity is how you get going. And from a very Darwinian standpoint, people that the virus would kill off, those weaker genes wouldn't be passed along. Now, a lot of these viruses hit older people, and they've most likely already had their children, probably have grandchildren or great-grandchildren. But, here we go. We have even more data, even more scientists, and I've seen videos about more and more scientists are saying that the doctors are saying the lockdowns are hurting us. They're not necessarily saying it's not, we just can't do anything. But again, a tempered response like what Sweden did and a little bit with what Germany did, and my understanding is Taiwan did something similar, Japan did something similar, Tokyo, there were places that have far more density than New York City, with very far less death. But again, you'd have to look at what's the extenuating circumstances and what's the population that's getting ill, what's the life quality like. In the States, obesity is a big health problem, and that is making some of this a little bit more deadly for some people. So the tempered and weighted response probably was the best way to go, but we'll see, and because this was known beforehand, but Imperial College, if they don't get investigated, this is not the first time they've done this, but this is the first time they've ever done this to this scale. They have to be held accountable. Their models for almost 15 years have been wrong. And it's time to just say, hey, we're not listening anymore. All right, so what do you think? You think that Levitt has got bad data? You think he's full of it? Why don't you go talk to a Nobel Prize winning scientist and tell him he's wrong, because you obviously know more. All right, thank you very much, and goodbye. Hello, is it working? All right, 3, 2, 1.